For about 8 months now, air travel has taken a new dimension with a continuous increase in the price of tickets. This increase has not only affected passengers, but also airline operators and the whole aviation industry. Inioluwa Pupola looks at the effect of this soaring price and what the future looks like for airlines in Nigeria.
This is the average cost of a ticket when traveling from Lagos to Abuja. The 100% increase in airfare price is telling on both passengers and airline operators. In 2021, the aviation fuel known as Jet A1 was sold for about 200 naira per litre, but now it is sold for over 800 naira. Entering the Muritala Mohammed Airport too, I expected to see a crowd, but unfortunately, it was quite scanty. I spoke with some of the departing passengers. They say that the increase in price is shocking, but they don't have a choice.
From Lagos to Asaba is 18,000, but now the ticket is like 70,000. But when you check, maybe you want to take roads, you check the insecurity in the road, maybe you pay 10,000 from the road, but at the end of the day, you find yourself you are spending like 10 million for you to be safe.
So sad having to pay this huge amounts of money just to travel within the country. It's not as if you're just traveling outside, it's still within the country, and you have to spend close to 80,000 just to travel from Lagos to Abuja. It's quite expensive.
For many people who may not have the money to travel, Zoom meetings have become the norm.
This is the arrival section of the airport, and there is influx of people coming in from Kaduna, Asaba, Owerri, Abuja. For some of the passengers, they feel safer flying despite the increase in ticket price. They say it is better than going by road, where they may just spend a large sum of money if the worst happens.
It's killing. It's not funny. I had to buy my ticket 135,000. It's not fair.
No matter how you look at it, it is still cheaper to fly because there's insecurity everywhere. So it's a situation that calls for very sober reflection on how we got to this circumstance. And that is why 2023 is a very, very critical year. It's a make or my year for Nigeria.
Although there has been a series of meetings with the federal government and the House of Representatives, no standard solution has been implemented.
Many people have said,
I then spoke with the chairman of United Airlines, also the spokesperson of Airline Operators of Nigeria, who explained the devastating effect on airline operators.
We airline operators of Nigeria still believe that if government should look in deeply, there is some kind of cabal that are racketeering these products. Because today we are paying close to 900 and 1,000 naira each. The first time I came on air to alert Nigerians about this impending problem, we were afraid that it could get to 500 naira within a short period. But today is double the price.
He says that the government should invest in building more refineries to produce the aviation fuel in order to reduce the cost of operations.
We have no doubt that if these things can be refined in Nigeria, there could be some reasonable savings in the cost of it, even if it's the logistics of taking it out and bringing it.
What is the future for airlines in Nigeria?
How they can bridge the gap within the landing cost of just A1 into Nigeria and the cost of sale at the airport outlets. There's no filling stations at the airport outlets. And there are taxes in between. The landing, the port charges for this fuel, and there's also the airport tax that found. If those two taxes can be waived temporarily, not permanently, because it's not subsidized. The aviation fuel and diesel are not subsidized. What I'm saying for this proposal is it's a temporary measure for this period whereby the prices are high, so that maybe the price would reduce a bit and can encourage the airlines to continue, continue operations and provide more flights.
For many Nigerians, it has become a sad tale where road transportation seems to be a no-go area, while air transportation, even within the country, is becoming a luxury. Albeit the complaints, airline operators are agitated that its operations will go down, leaving many of them out of jobs. Although efforts are being made by the federal government to intervene, more is still required to make a big profit and revenue out of this sector. Iniolua Chukwuola, TVC News, Lagos.
Right, joining us in the studio is the strategy consultant, public affairs analyst, Kenny Adenuba. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning. Thank you for being here this morning.
You saw the situation and passengers talking about it's high time we have a sober reflection with regards to this matter. And that for some person is still a cheaper option, but it's not so for a lot of Nigerians considering the economic situation.
Absolutely.
But then if we are to get to the root of this matter, beginning from there, what really is the challenge with the aviation sector?
Thank you. If you have to look at the aviation sector in Nigeria, the problem we're having today is global. We must appreciate that first. We must dimension it properly.
Right.
It's a global challenge. Whether you're talking of people in America, everywhere, all over the world as at now, and we know the reasons for some of these things. They fall back on the aftershock of COVID-19. COVID-19. The pandemic came, and a lot of things like a tectonic plate being shifted. We have that. Aside that, then we now got into this
the war in Ukraine,
Ukrainian war, the Ukraine war, and that on its own now like the icing on the cake for the trouble, so to say. And so, if we have to look at it from that perspective, it's not peculiar to us alone. However, what now makes it more precarious for us as Nigerians in our own environment is also the situation we find ourselves in.
Which is?
Which is one, we are an oil-producing nation, but we've depended rather on importation for too long. We have 3 refineries that have refused to work. They're moribund.
They refused?
Refused to work?
Well, that's what I would say, because whichever way it is, we've been doing turnaround maintenance over the years. Money has been funded, into those places, funneled into those places, and as at now, nothing has happened. So, in a way, either that the system refuses to make it happen, or somewhere there's a problem somewhere, because it beats imagination that you will have 3 refineries and not one is working, and you keep putting money for TAM. That's turnaround maintenance. Consistently. People are working there, earning salaries, going on trainings, and what have you, yet not a single drop is refined in years now. And then somebody says, and then you want me to tell me that it's not that it refuses to work, or some people refuse to allow it to work. So now we're also now having a private investor in Dangote. Now, interestingly, the federal government is also now putting money into that private business. So in a way, it begs for questions. To ask questions to say, what are we doing to ourselves as a nation? Now it's easier for us to become a trading nation, which we also do a lot of times in most of our economy. In agriculture, a lot of times we rather import instead of going through the line. That's not for today. But the reality is that we have a peculiar challenge as a nation where we have not made things to work. If today we actually refine our own petroleum products, one of which is Jet A1 fuel, we won't be this heat, as it were.
So what we failed to do has come back to haunt us.
Absolutely. So whatever it is, you see, a number of times we must think of repercussions. And over time, we may think we're getting away with things. But one day, chicken will
come home to
roost.
Yeah, so,
and that's what we're facing right now.
Yes, because you mentioned the Dangote refinery, you seem to have issues with that?
No, I don't have issues with it. I'm just saying that we have 3 that are state-owned. And interestingly, there's a privately owned one that's coming on board, which is good for us. I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying that with all of this...
What should be the caution for government investing in a private business as such?
Well, the reality for me is I'm asking questions, which is, why would our government then put money in a private business when they also have state businesses that are competitive and could naturally have taken a look at those competitive refineries and also make sure that they begin to work properly so that there can be a level playing field for everybody. You have a private investor, you have a government investment, and all of them are working together. Whichever way it is, it's all for the good of the nation. However, just the same way when we used to have Air Nigeria or Nigerian Airways, and you have private airlines as well. So whichever way it is, it one buffers the other. But where we have 3 refineries and none is working, of course, we can only depend on a private investor who now makes his own workable. Yeah. However, the question is, how good is that for our economy and for our polity as a nation?
Absolutely.
Yes. So those are the questions you want to ask. So of course, it's a good investment, it's a good approach for a private investor to look at that. Of course, it takes care of a whole lot of things you have in the Niger Delta environment where you have, all those hot shops of, refinery, illegal refineries and what have you. However, like
even
I said,
though those refineries are functional, and that of the government
that's I said that
the legal refineries function.
They function.
The government goes there, destroys
them.
The refined products.
Absolutely.
But that of the government has refused to work, in your words.
So that's why I'm saying that. So when you look at that, where I come from, they say it looks somehow. I mean, let me put it properly. They said that a limping masquerade went in, and then you find a limping man come out. Does it look like there is more to this than beats the eye? So those are the things that we want to actually tell ourselves. Right. That whichever way it is, government has a lot to do, and government has to take responsibility for some of these challenges that we have today.
Taking responsibility is where I want to pick it from now with regards to this matter. There are those who think that government is not doing enough with regards to taking responsibility to address the situation that we have found ourselves, especially with regards to the aviation sector, and that might cost us a lot.
Yeah, well, if you look at it in the last few months, from May thereabouts, we've had, the House of Rep stepping in so that the AON, because they came out and said that, we're down tooling. I mean, we're not flying.
We're shutting down.
We're shutting down the industry. And of course, House of Rep came up and they were able to find a way for as a temporary measure, which didn't last for long. Because it's a continual thing. And we must understand what can make this work. So in a way, the reality on ground remains that government has a lot to do in this matter, like we said. And what is government doing? A number of times we pay lip service to things. We come in when there are issues and we try to look at, okay, how can we just do fire brigade approach? Now, the reality is these operators need Forex to work, to be able to buy and operate. They also need a measure of waivers, which government is seemingly not willing so far to address. Let me put it this way. If you go online and you check, you want to buy a ticket, the base rate for a ticket of, say, like 150, the base rate may just be 58,000. The tax, the port tax alone is more than the base rate. So in a way, is it possible to actually give a temporary waiver to the operators? So say, what, we understand the challenges to be able to get fuel at the right cost that will have helped you to become profitable is difficult. So what we can do is this, as government, talk to NAMA, talk to NCAA and what have you, and FAN, particularly FAN. So you know what we need to do is this, certain rates, certain taxes must come down for now.
Yes,
let there be a downward review to be able to accommodate some of these challenges.
Yeah, the issue is that we are broke, and government also needs money.
Government also needs money.
Government needs to generate income.
You see, when we dimension some of these things, we're broke.
I'm not holding brief for the government, but I'm just saying that's what the government has said.
We're also Father Christmas in our brokenness. That's the reality.
Are you
if all I have is 100,000, and I'm telling people I'm broke, and I'm not able to manage that fiscal challenge I'm having in my brokenness, and I'm still seen as dashing this one 20,000, giving out 50,000 to that one, how do I tell anybody that I'm broke?
In clear terms, what are you referring to?
In one word, are we really broke? And if we truly are broke, which I want to believe that we are broke, we're not showing to the world that we are broke. Because at the end of the day, we're still putting money into places, we're still funding a number of things that shouldn't be. At this point in time, we should look at certain measures that shows that, you know what, we are really at this level. One, you find a lot of our officials, it's as if nothing has changed. Really. People travel here and there, people go on first class, business classes, I want to believe. So now that is aside. Then we are also looking at neighboring nations and being
playing the big brother role.
Yeah, you can't appear to be broke now as a big brother.
You see,
of
it's
course,
a big brother, you know.
That's why I need to maintain my image.
You maintain your image
Right.
at whose cost? At the cost of your children and your family.
Yeah, they will know how to manage
You see,
themselves.
the issue is this.
Yeah.
We become white. If you're not careful, if I'm permitted to say it online, I mean on air, in my mother's tongue, I hope I am.
Go ahead.
It's called tubu legere ode.
Okay, you break it down.
I'll break it down.
Yeah.
Let that be tubu. I mean, the house is like a prison. It's nothing good. It's like a derelict.
Well, I mean,
outside it's well painted. You want to look good to everybody.
Yes, I mean,
and that's the challenge we have.
There are arguments. I mean, if we have to delve into, there are arguments as to you cannot be secure or feel secured when your neighboring countries are not secured. Perhaps that's the argument. I'm not trying to hold brief here.
Is Cameroon not secure?
I'm not trying to hold brief here for that particular.
They have their peculiar issues.
All right, but let me ask you. Perhaps you think the fact that we cannot travel by road anymore because we feel unsafe.
Yeah.
We cannot travel by the trains anymore because, of course, even there have been attacks on the railways as well. So, is that so much of a burden for the air travel, being the fact that, I mean, traveling by road is probably a no-go area. There are kidnappers on the road, and traveling by train as well is also a death zone or death trap.
Absolutely.
So you think that has also been burdensome for the aviation sector as well?
Of course, there will be pressure on the aviation sector. It's given. There are people who naturally would prefer to go by road. Naturally. Yeah. Some people actually just love road trips. But with the problem on the road and with this insecurity, the reality is they don't want to. Nobody wants to risk it. If I'm to go to Benin today, there are times when I would rather just want to just take a road trip, but I dare not. That's the reality. And then, of course, we must also understand.
Just about 3 hours.
It's just about 3 hours, 4 hours. I mean,
from
away.
Lagos.
But the reality is, before you get to Okada, you may get abducted, or after Okada, nothing is given.
And the kidnappers will always ask for.
And then at the end of the day, the cost of traveling by road, if you get caught, get kidnapped,
is much more.
I don't even know what percentage increase to put it. So in a way,
on that note, traveling by air becomes the cheapest.
People are forced to come back to the aviation sector to say this seems to be the safest now, because even the train, you must ask yourself, does certain places trains don't go?
Right.
That is one. Then even the ones that train goes, between Lagos and Ibadan, just some time back, the fuel, they said diesel finished in the trade.
All right.
And
if you could just hold the thoughts, we need to quickly go on a commercial break. When we return, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We're still talking about the challenges the aviation sector is facing. And we still have our guest in the studio, strategy consultant and public affairs analyst, Kenny Adenuga. Now, Kenny, there was this report that has to do with this aspect of foreign exchange has also been a major challenge for the airlines, but international airlines, and even the local airlines to operate, because you mentioned it earlier, that's the way they can, acquire fuel. And some reports came out that some international airlines had begun to sell their tickets in dollars, but the federal government came out to refute that. Also linking it to the Forex challenge, some airlines not being able to get their monies out of the country, and so they are beginning to find ways to get these monies. I wonder what you make of this development.
Thank you. You see, where you do not put things in place to take care of your own end, you will always have this kind of problem. One, you can't blame Emirates or any other airline that says, you know what, we do not want to operate. I mean, we've had that with Emirates as of now, because their funds are trapped right within our system. And if your fund is trapped, you don't want to incur more. You don't want to put more in it, because the more they operate, the more funds are trapped. So how do they
get their money
out? So that becomes a problem. It's a challenge as at now. And the question then is, why wouldn't they be able to do this? I believe that because if it is something $1 million, will leave the economy at once.
It will have
there'll be a gap.
There'll
be a gap. And why would this happen? Because we have not also put our eyes on things that can actually help us to generate the forex that the nation needs to even help our own naira. And that's part of the problem. We're focused on the wrong things. All our focus is on trading. I mean, let's just trade. We're bringing in the oil. If today we're bringing in fuel, if today we refine our own oil, there will be less dependence on importation, which will actually help us to keep our forex. One. Secondly, shifting our focus from a mono economy into a broad-based economy where you talk about agriculture, mining, and all the other areas where we can be able to earn good forex. I mean, through the line agricultural, experience, production and every other thing. Not that we just have our cocoa, we're sending it out and bagging it out. No, we produce, we manufacture with them. We create chocolates and all manner of things and what have you. Then we can earn good money. But what do? We become a trading company, a trading nation. Let's just, as long as we can buy. We import more than we export. And that's the problem. So that's why you can see some airlines, some cargo airlines actually don't even want to come to Nigeria. They'd rather go to Ghana. Why? Because when they come in loaded, they go out empty. There's nothing to take away. Even Kenya there, during the pandemic and whatever, Kenya had to devise a means for that industry, for the aviation industry to make money.
Yeah. Is it so difficult for us to devise this means to make money? Is it so difficult for us to think outside of the box to get the... It seems we know what to do, but we just don't want to do it.
Because doing those things will probably not help some people to be able to line their own end.
So invariably, there are persons benefiting from what is happening.
Absolutely. If people are not benefiting, you wouldn't have all of these things happening. That's the reality we must tell ourselves. So the question is, who are those benefiting? How do we ensure that these people benefiting, we are able to cut back whatever it is they are taking from the nation and from the industry? Until we begin to address these things holistically, we are going to be going in circles.
Yes.
And that's the reality.
So this decision by Dubai's Emirates Airlines to suspend flights from Nigeria, I mean, it does highlight the challenges that international carriers perhaps face when they visit Nigeria, which is one of the largest markets in Africa. I wonder where that leaves us.
The truth is, we've not been able to compete fairly. Let's face that. We've not been able to compete fairly with international airlines on international routes. And that's the truth. Because one, let me give you an example. Emirates will source fuel right from Dubai. At what rate? Consider their currency, their currency to dollars, and how they're able to source. It's also an oil, producing nation, with refineries that work, with things that happen. So, if for example, hypothetically, let's say, while we're running at 800 per barrel, right? Sorry, per liter rather. And for Emirates, Emirates is doing like, say, an average of say like 200 naira. How do you compete with somebody that that's sourcing fuel at say 200 naira equivalent?
There's no ground for competition.
And you sourcing at 800. There's no ground for competition. And that was part of the problem that Arik had.
Do you see more airlines shutting down, more international carriers?
What's the future for aviation in Nigeria with all of the myriad of these problems? What do you see?
I mean, because let me just add that the Minister for Aviation, Hadi Sirika, said it does appear there's no immediate solution. So if Mr. Minister is saying that, I wonder...
You see, it's like when the person who should show you the way is telling you, I'm lost.
There's no immediate solution.
And then at the same time to then say, you know what, there's no immediate solution. The reality is this. Of course,
quickly,
when the minister was talking about that, he said, one is to look at making our refineries work. That's the first thing he mentioned. I don't know how that will happen in the next 2 years.
So what does this portend in one word?
Then at the same time,
because we need to go.
He then mentioned Dangote as well. Dangote is not ready yet. So in a way, it's going to take a while for us to get out of this. And then Forex is also a problem. Now, it's for CBN to then look at it. How can the airline source Forex
They've been
beyond the
looking
black
at that
market?
for a long time.
That's one. Secondly, the government has the will, and if the government has the will, they can ameliorate some of these challenges by reducing the tariffs and the taxes that the airlines pay within the ports.
All right.
That will help at least give some relief.
If not,
for the airlines. Otherwise, we just hope we wake up one day and Lagos to Abuja probably becomes 500 because they will pass on the cost to us.
All right.